Hello, hello, lovely people of both LinkedIn and YouTube. Before I forget to say it, happy Monday, everyone. I hope you guys are healthy and safe and, everything is okay in whichever place in the world you are. Now, today we have a really, really special treat for everybody because I will be joined by my dear friend Danny, who I love having conversations with. And so brace yourself because this will be a longer one that you are used to because us two, we are just so chatty and we can't stop having conversations. But yeah, without me going into too much random rambling, Danny, welcome to this LinkedIn Live. It's a huge pleasure to have you here. And I would ask you to just briefly introduce yourself to the audience first.
Micha, what a pleasure it is to see you again and to be with you. Thank you so much for having me here. I have lived 1,000 lifetimes this lifetime. I have had the opportunity to be with the richest people in the world, not in their boardrooms and in their lecture halls, but at their dining room tables. I've played on the floor with their kids and I've met their parents. I've sat with some of the people that inspire people the most around the world. They talk to millions of people a year, inspiring them and giving them hope. And I've done the same thing. I've sat at their dining room tables with them. And Micha, I've also been lucky enough to be with some of the poorest people the world has ever known. And I've sat on their cardboard boxes and had dinner with them. Oftentimes, it was just the bottle of wine and the loaf of bread that I brought, and the cheese, the piece of cheese that we shared together. And I have to say, out of all of those people, I've seen the same three things that every one of them wants. Every single person wants to be loved and accepted. Every single person wants to be listened to and heard. And every single person wants to be acknowledged and validated. And when I realized that I could actually do that for people, when I realized that that was the easiest thing in the world, I didn't need a college degree. I didn't need organization from a religious institution. I didn't need to become a coach from a coaching school. All of those credentials, by the way, I have, but I didn't need them for anything. All I needed to have was a heart that loved people enough and a soul that cared enough about somebody to just say to them, "How are you?" And to have them, give them the space to really answer. Because "how are you" now has become a salutation. It's "Hi, how are you?" "I'm fine, great, good." "Oh, good, how are you?" "I'm fine, great, good." What's go on? But when we take a minute to really ask people how they are, when we do that in our business, can you imagine what would happen if we actually cared enough about the person that was shipping our product, about the artist that was creating our graphics, about the people that were selling our product? If we would actually take the time to listen to them, and when we ask them how they're doing, can you imagine the culture that would create in the companies that we have? I've watched it change companies from cold, independent companies where people are thinking more about themselves than anybody else, to a culture where people are coming alive in a group experience where they actually care about each other. So I realized if that's what I could do, why don't I just do that? Why don't I give up everything else I'm doing and just do that? It's been one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had. And in doing it, I realized that I also had to do that for myself. I had to really care and listen to myself and understand what I was trying to say to myself, what the inner voice in me was trying to go for. And I realized that so many of the answers I was seeking out here are actually right in here if I would just listen. I hope I answered your question.
You absolutely did. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm biased, maybe not, but I every time when we speak, you just have like this warm and loving and so comforting voice that I can just shut up and just listen and listen and listen and listen. But you had an amazing journey so far, and I'm sure it will be even more amazing going forward. We are on LinkedIn, where all the business and all the business hoopla is happening. And most of our viewers actually watch these videos on the replay, but they are mostly entrepreneurs, executives, CEOs. So your journey is so full of inspiring stories and so many things that can really, really help our fellow entrepreneurs. So what would be the first maybe thing where we could start and uh, through your journey, through your stories, through the mosaic, start giving some valuable advice, something that they can take to their heart, take back home, apply, and enjoy a much more happy, fulfilling, full life?
Beautiful question, and thank you for setting up it that way. I was brought up in a lower middle class family, and both my parents passed away 2 years apart on the same day when I was a kid. And what happened is I moved from a lower middle class family to a very upper class family. My mother's sister had married a man who had a business that was $1 billion business 50 years ago. So you can only imagine what that was like. And he looked at me because he didn't have any sons at that point in time and said to me, Danny, I'm watching you as you're here. I don't know you. You live in the East Coast and we live in the Midwest. So we really haven't gotten the chance to know you, but I'm going to get to know you. You're living here with us now, and we're going to be taking care of you until you're old enough to take care of yourself. And so I'm going to see you and I'm going to watch you. And I have a purpose in watching you. And if I like what I see, I'm going to offer you something. And I don't want to tell you what that offer is yet. But about a month and a half later, he came up to me and he said, I want to make you an offer. I want to take you out to lunch. And I said, okay, great. What would that be? He said, I'm going to offer you to start tomorrow pushing a broom in our office with the thought of working your way up to the top. Because in 15 years, I'm hoping to retire. In 15 years, that would make you 30 years old. And I would like to give you over my portion of this business. And that's a multi-billion dollar company that I think you can run. And don't worry, I'm going to mentor you every step of the way. We're going to start you pushing a broom, and you're going to work your way up to whatever level you can work up to. And then when you get stuck, I'm going to help you and I'm going to guide you and I'm going to take you to that place. And I said, wow, that's the most beautiful thing anybody could ever offer. But I said to him, this is something that's really important for me, and I want to take time to understand it. So you've been watching me for a month and a half, but you're a very wise, smart man. I'm just a kid. I'm 15 years old. I don't know what any of that means. I'd like to watch you for a year and see what that means. Long story, already too long. After a year's time, we went out to lunch, and I asked him 3 questions. And as a result of those 3 questions, I ended up not going into his business. I walked away from a multi-billion dollar opportunity because it wasn't who I was. And it wasn't it wasn't the heaven that I was looking for. It wasn't what I was thinking that it was mine to find. So the first place I want to talk to people about is the allure of money is so powerful and so big and so intoxicating. But the allure of happiness and being yourself is equally powerful if you give it a chance. And I want to ask your viewers, have you given up that sense of knowing yourself because of the promise of what money will give you in the future? No blame one way or another. I just want to have you get an honest look at yourself. Because there aren't many people that would walk away from $1 billion opportunity to hitchhike around the world and find inner peace and happiness. But I want to tell you the rest of that story, if I can, right now, in a quick summation.
Absolutely, please do. And I'm interested to hear those 3 questions.
I bet you are. 3 questions first, or a summation of the story?
As you wish.
Okay. Let's go with the 3 questions, because there they were. So he took me out to lunch, and I said to him, he said, do you have an answer to my question? And being the petulant, arrogant little kid that I was, I said, you have to ask a question before I can give you an answer. And he said, oh, so you forgot a year ago that I asked you a question and you told me in a year you would answer. I said, no, I'm sorry. I didn't forget that. I just didn't remember today was the day that year was. And I'm so sorry. I will never forget that again. So he said, so what's my answer? I said, well, it comes in the form of 3 questions. And he said, okay, that already doesn't bode well. Do you realize, Danny, that 99.99999% of the people would have said a year ago from today, yes, let's do it, and would have said at the lunch table today, absolutely, let's do it. What are your questions? I said, my first question is, I remember being at the house and it was your birthday. And there were about 400 people that came to the house to celebrate your birthday with you. And I remember coming up to you and saying, boy, this must feel so nice to have this many people who love you and respect you enough to come to your house to celebrate your birthday and give honor to you on your birthday. Do you remember what you said to me? And he said, yes, I do. I said, can I say it to you and tell me if I have it right? He said, sure. Let's see how good your memory is. I remember you said to me, Danny, none of these people would be here if I didn't have any money. The only reason they're here is because they want my money. I said, is that right? And he said, yes, I would say that to you again today, and that is correct. So I said to him, please tell me why you would want to give me that present. Please tell me why you would want to give me the present of not having any friends, but thinking that everybody that came to me wanted to be with me only because of the money that I would have. Is that a present you want to give me? He said, okay, this doesn't seem like it's boding very well. Tell me with the next question. I said, I've thought about this a lot. Say that I could do that. Say that I wasn't limited by that thought process that I believe you have. Say that I could actually really embrace people, and I'm a caring, loving man who wants people to be my friends and invites them in and doesn't see them as only wanting me for my money, but sees them, but can decipher between those people. But I don't think, if you can't do it, how can I do it? You're smart. You're brilliant. You know the world. I don't know the world. But I remember sitting around the dinner table with you, and I remember having a conversation, and we were talking about your daughters. Your daughters were getting involved with men. And do you remember what you said to them? I said, again, let me tell you what I heard and tell me if I'm right or wrong. You said you have to be very careful, girls, because people aren't interested in you because of how you look or who you are. They're interested in you because of your last name, and they want to marry you because of the money that they'll come into as a result of being your husband. I said, is that correct? He said, absolutely, that's correct. And I'd say it to him again today. So I said, so say I could get over the first question. Say I could find my own friendships. Why would you want to give that gift to my kids? Why would you want to give the gift to my kids that says that nobody really loves them for who they are? They only love them because of the advantage they could have by being their friend and being in their family. So he said, okay, this doesn't bode so well. What's your third question? I said, let's, for instance, say that I'm wise enough or smart enough to make it so that I could have my friends. And I could teach my children that they were lovable and that people were going to want their money, but they were lovable and completely lovable on their own. If I were to come through your business, and I'm working my way from the bottom all the way up to the top, I would see things that you haven't seen probably now for a little while because you haven't been in those situations. And if I were to call things to your attention that I saw that could be changed, that could be done better, that could give more profitability, that could give more efficiency, that could give more care to the people that are in the business, would I have the space to do that? I said, do you remember what you said to me? And he said, yes. Why don't you tell me what you think it was? I said, that one's easy because you've said it over and over and over again. You said to me, Danny, if it ain't broken, why fix it? Do you remember that? He said, absolutely. So I said, do you think we have the answer to our question? He said, yes, unfortunately, I do. It doesn't look like you're going to take this. And you know what? I have to excommunicate you now as a result of those answers. And I said, he said, you know, I had to do that. And I said, well, I didn't know, but I assumed that might be what you did, but I understand. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here with you, to have you introduce me to the people that I've met. I've met some of the richest people in the world through being here with you these years. And I so appreciate you for what you've given me. To their credit, they didn't excommunicate me. They tried, but they tried to help me over and over and over and over again. But I realized in that moment the power that money has over people. That people think when they have money, they can buy you, they can have you, they can command you to be a certain way, but no one can command you to be anything other than you are if you don't allow the power of their money to affect you. That's the first thing I want to say. What are your thoughts?
Whew. Well, my thought is like, how the hell were you so wise when you were 15, 16 years old? Like that's like, how were you able to look at everything in that kind of way, come up with those kinds of questions, be so observant? I'm just lost for words how it can be that at 15, again, I want to point that out, you were wiser than, I don't know, than I was probably at 35.
Well, I had the unfortunate benefit of having of losing my mom and dad. And what that made me do is question the life that I was living. It made me question what was actually going on. It made me try and find meaning and purpose in the things that were going on, because my dad was my idol. I couldn't believe it. In one moment he was gone, and I didn't have any idea why someone that I loved so much would suddenly be gone. And in everything I looked for meaning. And in everything, really, what I found in writing my book, The Mosaic, was only through writing that book did I realize that I asked the adults when my parents passed away where my parents went, because I wanted to find them so much. And they told me they went to a place called heaven. And it's only now, in looking back in retrospect, that I see that every opportunity that came my way, every situation that I had, every chance that I had to be involved with starting big companies, starting big things, starting new movements that I could have easily done, that I could have happily done, that I could have been a part of. They just weren't the heaven I was looking for, because what I was looking for was that gentle, unconditional, beautiful love that my mom and dad gave me. And it was only in really these last years when I realized that I could love and accept people as they are, that I could listen to them and hear them, that I could validate them and acknowledge them, that I started to come close to holding this space in this room of having 50 conversations with 50 strangers. There's now hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of conversations that I've had where people could actually feel that. And when they felt it, suddenly something happened that was really interesting. Suddenly who they weren't fell off. Everything that they weren't slipped away. And suddenly they saw themselves for who they were, without all the masks, without all the identities, without all the protection that they put around themselves. And they liked what they saw without all of that. And I finally realized, this is now my purpose. This is my place. It's not to teach people or change people or coach people or fix them. It's just to love and accept them. Because that's what every single being, my uncle wanted to be loved and accepted. He didn't want people to like him because he had money. He wanted someone to say, hey, you know something? You are my buddy and I like you. Let's just go out and have fun together. I don't care if you have everything and I have nothing, or you have nothing. And he came up to me afterwards in one of the moments where he saw me after he had excommunicated me. He said, I can't say this aloud. And I can't have anybody else hear it. He's passed on now, so I can say it. He said, I have to tell you how much I respect and honor you. You're the only person I know that didn't sell yourself out for my money. Everybody else has. That meant a lot to me.
Yeah, I can imagine. You were probably the only person who had the balls to say no to somebody who was used to everybody saying yes, but he never knew. Well, he never knew for sure, but most of the time, or all the time, he was guessing that it was just because of his wealth.
Yeah. And it was only really he passed away, but I was able to be there around the time that he was dying, because he was dying. And I went to visit, and they didn't like that I came to visit because I was excommunicated, but I got to see him. And I said, I want you to know that it's not because of your money that I love you. I love you because I love you. And I was able to say to my aunt, everybody now wants to love you and show you how much they do whatever you say. That you tell them to do stuff and they do it for you. I don't want to play that game with you. I don't want any of your money. You keep your money. It's more important for you. All I want you to know is that I love you, and I'll always love you. And even if we never talk to each other again, I will love you because of who you are and because I love you. That's all. And I don't know if it got through or not. When we got married, and when I married Anna, my wife, we invited them to the wedding, and the whole family came. And it was a beautiful, beautiful moment. So maybe it did. Maybe who knows what happened. You can't know these things until it's over. But what I just want you to know is, and what I want I've listened to your shows, and your shows are so beautiful and so wise and so good for people that are in businesses. But I think the most important thing that we could have is that if we can't be ourselves in the businesses that we're in, who the heck are we and what are our businesses about? Our businesses are here to serve us, not for us to serve our businesses. And when we do our business and when we live in a business that actually serves us and grows us and promotes what we believe and honors who we are as human beings, then everything is in alignment with why we're here. I promised to tell you the conclusion of the story. Let me just try and tell it sort of quickly. It's not really a conclusion. But during the years I was there with my uncle, my best friend was also the son of a multi-million dollar man. He wasn't a billionaire, but he was very, very wealthy. And we were best friends. We did everything together. And the day I turned down my uncle, he like excommunicated me too, my best friend. He said, you so pissed me off that you would do that. We had such plans of doing the life that we would live together and creating this life together of what we would have. And I wanted to do this with you. And now look what you're going to do. You left all that to find yourself. What are you, crazy? Like, what's wrong with you? Well, about 10 years ago, and this was 50 years ago that all this happened. About 10 years ago, I was in New York City, and I was staying at a hotel called the Mandarin Oriental, a beautiful hotel right off of Times Square, right off of Central Park. And in order to get to the lobby of the hotel is on the 34th floor. So you have to take an elevator up from the ground level to the 34th floor to get on the elevator to go to your floor. And so I was coming home one night around 10:30, 11 o'clock. And as I was coming out of the elevator, I hadn't seen this guy in 40 years. And I saw my best friend getting on from when I was a kid there, getting on the elevator. And I looked, I said, Neil? And he said, who said my name? And I said, I did. He said, how do you know my name? I said, that's amazing. You don't even recognize me, do you? He said, no. Who are you? I said, this is Danny. Remember, we were best friends when we were 15 years old. He said, oh my God, Danny, come with us. We're going out to a club. Let's go. Come with us and celebrate with us. And I said, I'm not a club guy, but why don't we have breakfast together tomorrow? And he said, no, screw the club. Would you drink some scotch with me and smoke some cigars? I said, absolutely. So he said, I've got a great bottle of scotch. I got Johnny Walker Blue up in my room. I got 2 good cigars. Let me bring them down to the lobby and we can sit down here and talk. We talked from 10:30 until 4:30 in the morning. He said something to me and this is somebody I haven't talked to, that he was like mad at me. And he told me again how mad at me he was. And I looked at him and I said, Neil, I'm so sorry I hurt you. I didn't mean to hurt you. And he said, but I was wrong, Danny. I have more money than God right now. I can't, if I spent every cent I had every day that I had it, I wouldn't have enough days to spend the money that I have. I'm on my 4th wife. My children don't talk to me. I have no love with the woman I'm with. And I looked at your eyes in that elevator and I said, what does this guy have? What does he have inside of him that I just have been looking for and I can't find? He said, I want what you have. I was wrong to tell you not to find that inner peace. I love that you have that inner peace. What I wouldn't do to have that. I said, Neil, I'm your friend. I don't care how you've treated me. I'm your friend. I'll always be your friend. I can help you to have it. This is what my life's about. This is what I do. He said, I'll call you as soon as I get home. That was 10 years ago. I haven't heard from him since.
Well, somebody who knows Neil has to tell him that he forgot to call you, and
Yes.
that he might regret that decision that he didn't call you. Danny, one thing that I caught from the story, and it's something that I'm telling everybody about this year. Um, you know, often people ask you about happiness and what is happiness, what is success. Success is for me pretty easy defined. It's being happy, whatever that might be for you. And to be happy, I think it's simpler, but it's harder because you have to go on a little journey, and that takes a bit of time. But it's really just living in alignment with who you are.
Yeah.
And I think that's happiness. Whoever you are, whatever you are, as long as you live in alignment with your values and your true self, you're happy. Now, of course, because of all the influence from the outside, social media, friends, parents, spouses, this, that, we lost ourselves. Many of us have lost ourselves. I know I was really, really lost. And my failures, reflecting back, were really the result of me living completely unaligned with who I am. And that can't go forever. And life tries to give you little lessons, tries to tell you something, and you don't listen. And then it gives you bigger lessons and bigger lessons. And then one day, bam, it has to hit you in the head. But that was biggest part of what I heard there. And this is very important part for our fellow entrepreneurs is, why would you do anything at all if it's not aligned with who you are? And the second thing, the second lesson.
Pause for 1 minute. I just want people to really answer that question for themselves, because what Mika asked is so important. And there's so many answers that are possible to give. But what's the answer you're giving? If you're living a life now that is not in alignment with yourself, are you living it for the money? Are you living it for the promise of the carrot at the end of the stick? Are you living for what if this happens and then I'll have that happen? What is it worth to you to have happiness, to live in alignment with yourself, to live your purpose here in this world? And what is it worth for you to have a few dollars? You don't have to answer it to anybody else but yourself. Just answer it for yourself.
And I would add here just a little tiny detail. So I was 20 something when I was living very unaligned life. I was on a cloud number 9. And so after the failures, when I started asking myself that question, it wasn't that I was selling my morals, my values. So what happened to me was that I literally completely lost myself. And even when I started asking myself those questions, answers that came out of me that I truly thought were truthful, thankfully, I found 2 answers that were unaligned. So you can't have this and this. I had to choose. And it was just a little thing. But that little thing started having me challenge everything that I wrote down, re-ask the question, and go deeper and deeper and deeper. And it was only then when I really found myself. So it wasn't that I sold myself, and I knew who I was, but I was acting against myself. No, I just got so caught up in the Kardashian life that I was living that, yeah, I literally lost myself, and I needed an extra journey to actually find myself.
I would have loved to see you in your Kardashian life. I think that would have been fun for me.
No, yeah, it was fun, you know.
Oh,
I
of
mean,
course.
I have zero regrets.
I
Um,
understand.
and yeah, it was fun. I mean, I wouldn't change that for anything, just the same way as I wouldn't change the failures that I had to go through. It all together made me the person I am today. So I really wouldn't change a single thing.
And Mika, I love that part of what you're saying, because to me, that's what the mosaic of our life is. The mosaic of our life is when we don't try and discount or run away from the pieces that we've been. But every piece of what we've been, we put together to create this person that we are now. And that person is beautiful. No matter how ugly some of the pieces were, no matter how much pain we went through, no matter how much suffering we went through, no matter how much joy we experienced, no matter how many dollars we spent, no matter how many parties we went to, or how many drinks we drank, or how many women we were with, or how many places we bought or sold, every piece of it is a part of us. And when we bring those pieces together, they make up the most exquisite artistry that you could ever imagine. And that artistry is called you. And so if you find that you're scared to know yourself, just ask yourself why. What are you so scared to discover? What are you scared of at all? What is the fear that you're running so dangerously from? That if it caught you, what would happen if that fear took over you? What is that fear that you're so worried about? What are you trying to be? What are you scared that people will see if they actually see you? You might just be surprised. You might find that they fall absolutely madly in love with you. And I don't know if you've been a part of this, but I've certainly witnessed this. I've been in rooms where the most beautiful people have walked in the room, and people flocked to the most beautiful people because they wanted to be with them. But 5 minutes later, everybody was walking away from them because there was nothing inside. They were just beautiful on the outside, but there was nothing in there to maintain that beauty, and they got sick of it, and it was boring and ugly and not really fun to be around. And I've also been in rooms where the most beautiful people had something beautiful in them, and they were charismatic, and everybody wanted to be with them. But I've also been in rooms where some of the ugliest people, some of the people that were awkward and weird, walked into a room and nobody wanted to be around them. But suddenly, one by one, people started to come around them, and the crowd around them grew to unbelievable sizes. Because these people were real and vulnerable and alive. And they were so full of important information, so full of real, genuine knowledge that people couldn't get enough of them. Of course, we all want to be the beautiful person that's beautiful inside and out. But I would have become the ugly person, beautiful inside, rather than the beautiful person, ugly inside, any day of the week. If this show does nothing but ask you to ask the question of who are you and what are you scared of, that would be the most beautiful thing. One of the reasons why I love Mika so much is because who has the courage to become a fail coach? To say to you, I want to help you fail. Nobody in their right mind wants to help failing until you sit and have a conversation with them and you realize that every single human being who's been successful has failed more times than they could tell you. Because failure means you're taking risks. What risk are you taking in looking at your own life? Are you willing to fail and be seen naked and alone and as something that you don't want to be seen as, so that you can actually own this person that you are? Who knows what people will see? I can tell you from my own experience and in the experience I have with helping businesses be more vulnerable and be more honest and show up more real, that the more businesses do that, the more their businesses grow. The more people do that, the more friends they have. The more a company starts to listen to the people that are in its company, the stronger the company becomes. Try it. What do you have to lose?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, like you said in the first story, because I'm not gonna let you go that easy. So we still have time, and I promised at the beginning of this interview that it will be a longer one than usually. But like what you said, why would you build your company or in everything if you're not enjoying what you're doing, if it's not bringing you joy and happiness and giving you the wholesomeness of the life that you're living and so on? Like, why?
Yeah.
What's the point of it?
Well, what I see happen oftentimes is we try and model ourselves after other people that are successful. And as good as that sounds, it sounds great. We will be successful if we do what successful people do. But it goes back to Misa's question, what is success? You're going to make a lot of money if you do the things, if you follow what people do to make money, you're going to make money. The question is that going to make you feel happy? I can't tell you how many people that I know that have, and I know a lot of people with a lot of money, but I don't know a lot of people who have a lot of fulfillment. I don't know a lot of people who have a lot of happiness. And I'm sorry to say that's the case. I wish there were more. One of my biggest sadnesses is looking at a world that has so much to give and has no idea who they are. So you can model yourself after somebody else, but you weren't created here to be somebody else. You were created here to be you, to bring your special magic, to bring your special, beautiful ordinariness into this world and be the most beautiful, ordinary human being alive. You don't have to be more than you are. You don't have to be better than you are. You don't have to be extraordinary. You don't have to be greater than you are. In my book, The Mosaic, Mo meets all these absolutely ordinary people. And in speaking with them and listening to their stories, he finds things that literally change him as a human being. That book still, I'm reading it. I was just in a book club that I started just this past 4 weeks. It is throwing me in up and down, like through all sorts of challenges, through all sorts of reperceptions of the way I see the world. The heaven that I was looking for, that the adults told me was mine, but that heaven was for me, wasn't a place with a guy with a better beard than mine, that looked better than I, that had a big G on his sweatshirt. That heaven was my ability to change a perception. To look at something that I've always looked at one way and suddenly see it entirely different. What would a change of perception do for you in your company? How would it change the way you create your product? How would it change the way you run your company? How would it change the way you deal with the people that you deal with? If you could suddenly see everything different. It's called innovation, I think. What is needing innovation in your company right now?
Danny, one for me, and I know that all of your stories are very powerful in the book and otherwise as well. I don't know which one is your favorite, but mine is the Trashman.
I love it.
I it's just so powerful because I catch myself so many times. And before I read that story, I didn't know how to explain it, but then it suddenly came very clear that we tell ourselves stories. We constantly tell ourselves stories. Some are good and empowering, and it helps you move forward. And some are, there is no universal truth because we see everything through our mindsets, our filters, and so on. So everything, all our life is a combination, a mosaic of so many different stories, good and bad, and the ones in between. But catching yourself when you do tell yourself stories that don't empower you and don't make you grow and achieve the dreams that you want to achieve are the ones that you have to get rid of. You have to throw them in the trash can.
Yeah.
I actually have an exercise for my clients that I call the trash can, where they write out those stories. And this was inspired completely by you. So maybe we need to talk about the copyright on that particular thing, and some royalties for you because I'm using that name. But it was just so inspiring when I read it. And then you write them down, and you literally, I had one client, she took it a bit too literally. She put the piece of paper on a plate and burned it. But it was just so liberating for her when she did that. And
Yeah.
I've burnt or thrown away quite a lot of the stories.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly on the lookout for the ones that still need to get burnt and thrown into the trash can. But without me taking over completely the story that you wrote, I would absolutely love if you would be able to share it at least briefly,
Sure.
because I really think it's such a valuable thing for our audience, and it goes really well with the first story, with knowing thyself. And then once you do get to know yourself and you figure out that certain stories don't serve you, what to do with them.
Yes. So the Trash Man is such a beautiful, beautiful character, and he's been one of my favorites ever since the time I was 4 years old. I would sit out on our back lawn and I would watch the Trash Man come every Friday. They would come to our house, and those were in the days where two men rode in the back and one man drove the truck, and they would get off the truck, and each man had a side, and they would go around to the neighborhood. They would pick up the trash cans, they would pick them up, put them in the truck, and then they would get back on the truck and drive to the next house and do the same thing. And when the truck started to get full, they would push a button and they would grind the trash up. Well, the trash man saw me sitting there every Friday. They saw me, and it was 6 months of watching me sit there every Friday where they were coming around the neighborhood, and they saw me and they stopped and they said, "Would you like to ride with us?" And I thought I died and went to heaven because that was my dream. I wanted to ride on the trash truck. I wanted to be a trash man. I love that. And my mom was sitting watching this from the kitchen window, and she came running out. She said, "Where are you taking my son? Don't take him." I said, "Mom, it's okay. They're nice people. They're just going to take me. They're offering to take me around the block on the trash truck." And they said, "If you don't have him back in 10 minutes from calling the police." I said, Mom, I know you're worried. Don't worry. These are good people. Let me just ride on the trash truck with them." And they said, "Ma'am, we'll keep him safe. Don't worry. We'll be back soon." And they drove me from house to house, and we would get off the truck, and I would help them lift the cans up. And then when it came time when the trash truck was full, they said, "Here, push this button, Danny." And I pushed the button, and I thought I died and went to heaven again because the trash truck ground up all the trash. And I thought, wow, look what I'm doing. I'm literally taking this trash, and it's grinding it up, and it's like the greatest feeling in the whole world. I came back from around the block, and my mom sat down with me, and she said, "Danny, I have to tell you something. I love you, and you've already tested in a over genius IQ. There's no way in the world I'm going to let you be a trash man. So I know that's your fantasy now, but there's no way in the world you have greater things to do in this world than be a trash man." Mika, it's only in looking back now that I realized I haven't ever left my job of being a trash man. It's still what I do for people. I don't go door to door and pick up their trash cans and put them in a truck, but I go person to person, and I this receptacle out to people, which is my trash can. And I say to people, please, if you feel to, if you trust me enough, put everything that hurts you into this trash can. Put all your pain, put all your suffering, put all the things you're scared of, put all the things that you're afraid of that are keeping you from doing what you need to do. Please put them just into this trash can. We don't have to put them into the truck, but just put them in here. And even if people were to say to me, "Danny, you're the reason why I'm upset. You're the reason why I'm mad. It's the way you do things that makes me upset." That's not the time to rationalize or defend or fight. All I do at that point is I say, "Please tell me more. Put it all in here. I understand. Put it all in this trash can." The compassionate part of being a trash man is that moment where the person puts everything that pains them, everything that troubles them, all the trash that they no longer need, they put it into the trash can, and they're not walking around with it on their body or in their minds or in their, it's all in this trash can. And they have the opportunity for that moment to feel what it's like not to carry the burden and the weight of all that pain and all that suffering with them. And oftentimes when they feel that, they say to me, Danny, will you please put that into the trash truck and grind it up for me and drive it away? And I say, of course I will. The trash man is yours to call on because you know him now. I've introduced you to him. You don't need me to be around anymore. Just call him whenever you need him. If there's something that pains you, call him and ask him to bring his receptacle of his trash can with you so you can put everything that troubles you into it. Do that with your business. Do that with the people you're not getting along with at work. Do that with your spouse. Do that not to put your spouse or your business into the trash can. Don't get me wrong. Put the troubles that you're having. Put the way that you're seeing the world. Put everything that you think you see, that you believe so strongly in, put it into the trash can and let it go away. And just feel what it feels like to be free of that. It is such an exquisitely beautiful feeling to be freed up of that trash. And believe me, I've been doing this for a while and I still call the trash man almost every day. Because there's so much, as soon as I let it go, I try and recreate it. Because I'm just more comfortable with my trash than I am without it. There's something my pain and my suffering gives me that I'm trying to figure out right now that I no longer need, and I just want to give it away and let it go. You can recreate it if you want, but you don't have to. What would it feel like for you if you had the opportunity to just put every single thing that causes you pain into the trash can and be free of it from now evermore? That's my trash man.
Yeah, you got something there. Maybe yes, you never stopped being the trash man.
No.
In a bit different form. But
Yeah.
I mean, you must have been born from that. I mean, honestly, I've met a whole lot of people from this world in the 42 years since I've been on this earth, and I'm not sure I ever met a more pure and beautiful soul and a more beautiful human being with warmer, bigger heart than you, Danny. I really don't think I ever did.
Wow, what a kind thing to say to a person. Thank you so much. Mika, you know how much I love you, so that touches me even more because of how much I love you and care for you. I'm deeply moved. Thank you.
But it's really the truth. I mean, I'm known for my disability to lie, even if I try to just pull out a little lie, I open my mouth and nothing comes out. So I really, really honestly mean that. I mean, your the way you talk, the way you share stories, like I said, your book is amazing. Yes, The Trash Man was absolutely my most favorite mosaic part of the book, and it's always such a huge pleasure to have a conversation with you. Therefore, Danny, I'm not gonna say that you have to share another story with us because
I'm aching
I wanna.
I would like to share one more. Can I share one?
Then yes, please do me a favor. I was a bit afraid that you might be.
No,
but please.
And I'll try and make it quick so we honor our time. The character now, the beauty of a book like this, of ordinary people, is that at different points in time, different people come and influence me. And the person that influences me most right now, as much as I love the trash man, is the mirror maker. Somehow, I don't know why, but that she's taken over my soul. And the story of the mirror maker is that Mo is walking on this journey to find heaven, and he's meeting all these different people. But he's been out on country roads, and he hasn't seen anybody for about 2 or 3 weeks. He's just been by himself. And so he looks out into the horizon, and he sees lights on the top of a hill, and he thinks, oh my God, I want to get there before dark falls, because I want to be able to be with these people. I haven't seen anybody in a long time, and I'm longing for some human company. I'm sort of alone, and I feel like I could benefit by seeing somebody. And he races to this hill, but by the time he gets there, the whole village is closed except for one store. And he walks into the store, and the door's open, and he walks in. He stands on the edge of the door, and he's wondering, should I say hello? I don't see anybody, but he's walking through town, so he's not going to buy anything. And the store is a mirror store. It's filled with all these big, beautiful mirrors. And when he looks in, he gets confused because he doesn't know if what he's seeing is actually what he's seeing, or if what he's seeing is the reflection of the reflection of a reflection of another mirror, because all the mirrors are looking, or you can see all the mirrors reflected off of each other. And so he doesn't even know what's real in the store anymore. And so he wonders, I wonder if I can just come in. I mean, the door's open, so maybe I could just come in. But he doesn't see anybody, so he stands there for a few moments, and then he walks in. And he walks around the shop, and he comes up to one mirror by mirror, and he's caught in this beautiful grandeur of all these different mirrors. But one mirror just totally takes him over. And he walks up to that mirror, and he says, "You're the most beautiful mirror that I've ever seen." And to his surprise, the mirror says, "Thank you." The mirror actually speaks back to him. And he said, "How is it possible that I can hear you speak?" And the mirror said, "Stranger things than that happen in this shop, Mo." He said, "How do you know my name?" He said, "I'm telling you, strange things happen here. But tell me, just be here with me." And Mo looks at the mirror, and the mirror is not made of glass. It's made of bronze. And it's this beautifully polished bronze that's so beautifully polished that you see a reflection on it. And the mirror maker must have known how gorgeous it is, because she put a spotlight on it. And that spotlight on this beautifully polished bronze makes him feel like, oh my God, I can see myself in a way I've never seen myself. I'm seeing myself in a bronze mirror. This is amazing. And 2 seconds after he has the thought, the mirror maker comes behind him and says, "Oh, I see you've seen a mirror that you like." And he looks at her and he says, "Oh my God, this is the most beautiful mirror I've ever seen." And she says, "Well, what do you see in it?" And he wonders, can I say to her what I see in it or not? Because I don't know. I haven't seen anybody in a long time. Can I trust her? And the mirror says, "Mo, you can trust her. She's one of us." And so he looks at her and he says, "I don't know what it is about this mirror, but I've never seen myself like this." And she says, "Really? Tell me what you see." And he starts to describe himself, and he starts to tell all the stories that he has, and he starts to say who he sees himself to be. And she says, "I'm sorry. That's beautiful, Mo, what you see, but I'm not really asking that question. I'm asking you, what does the mirror see in you? The mirror doesn't know any of your stories. So when the mirror looks at you, what does it see?" And Mo said, "I don't know what it sees. I don't know who I am without my stories." And she says, "That's okay. Just stay here and be with the mirror for a little while." So what I've been feeling since we started this conversation is that there's someone who's listening to this conversation now who just needed to hear, what does the mirror see without all your stories? Who are you if you could wipe yourself clean of all the stories, of all the things you think you are, of all your flaws, of all your greatness, of all the things you've done, of all the things you haven't done, of all the reasons why you're scared and afraid, and of all the reasons why you think you're the greatest in the world? Wipe them all clean. What would the mirror see if it could see you right now? And please let me know. I'd love to know what you would see. Welcome to the Mirror Maker. You've just met another character in the mosaic.
How nicely it all came to full circle. Because what you will see if you stay there for long enough, you will see who you are, and the know thyself, where we started at the beginning, through the and I really want to point this out. None of this was scripted. We just came the full circle. Beautiful, beautiful story. Um, Danny, well, one thing is the book, The Mosaic, and you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Apple Books and all sorts of places.
It'll be
But
available also as a audio book. It's already recorded. It's sitting at Audible. We're just waiting for them to post it. So another week or 2 weeks, it'll be available in audio.
and are you reading it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I just have to buy it. Yes, because I can't get enough of your voice. It's really just so soothing and really like the moment you start talking, and I'm really not exaggerating, but when the moment you start talking, it's almost like happiness and light filled the room around me.
Can you follow
Um,
me around and just whisper some stuff in my ears like that every once in a while? I love that. Hey, I wanted to say one other thing if I can, and I know we probably got to go. Do we have time for one other thing?
yes, absolutely.
So the beauty of a book is when it becomes real life. And one of the things that I used to do, and I'm doing a little bit now, but not as much as I used to, but I just want to put it out there, is I've always been able to see things differently than other people. That's what you'll see if you read the Mosaic, that the way we see life is different. And it always isolated me and made me feel alone most of my life. And I felt like, gosh, everybody sees the same thing that they see, and I see things differently. And it's so sad for me, and I felt so alone in it. Until I got a little older and companies started to call me up and say, we're in a need of innovation. And we're looking for someone to help us innovate. Would you be willing to come here and do some workshops with us? And I said, sure, why not? So I remember going into New York, into the upper stories. I think it was on the 74th floor of a skyscraper. And I walked into the boardroom, and the people that were sitting in there were in their Armani suits, and the women were in their pantsuits and beautiful dresses, and the men were in their 3-piece or 2-piece suits. And you could just feel the money that was in that room. And they wanted you to feel that. Well, it happened that day. I was wearing a T-shirt and jeans. And I walked into the room, and they said, I'm sorry, excuse me, what are you doing here? I said, well, I was told I should come here. They said, are you coming to take the trash? I said, you know something? I love being a trash man, so I probably am. So can you show me where your trash is? They said, it's over there in the can. I said, really? Is there any other place in this room where you think you have some trash? And they said, what are you talking about, sir? We're waiting for a conference to start. I said, really? Who are you waiting for? They said, well, our conference leader should have been here a couple of minutes ago. I said, really, about the time that I walked into the room? They said, no, you couldn't be our conference leader, could you? I said, no, I probably couldn't, because you want me to look exactly like you. You want me to be dressed like you and think like you. But innovation doesn't come from people who look and talk the same. Innovation comes from people who see the world differently than you do. So, by the way, where else is your trash now? Do you think you might have a little more trash that I can take with me, as long as I'm taking this can out of the room? They said, oh my God, like, what just happened here? This is going to be the best afternoon we've ever had. And we had a phenomenal time together. Because what happens is, when people get out of seeing the way they see and allow the world to show them what else is there, that's when companies really skyrocket. So whether you bring me into your company or somebody else, or whether you don't have to bring anybody into your company, how do you start to see the world differently than you see it right now? Because guaranteed, the way you're seeing the world is blocking you from seeing all the other ways to see the world. And until you open up and allow something or somebody to help you see differently, you're going to go on seeing the world exactly as it is, and you're going to be passed by all the other people that are innovating and creating new realities and new ways of seeing the world in different ways that take us to where we have to get to. Our world is changing now. The old ways will not get us to the new ways. We need to start to see the new ways developing all around us that are right there in front of us. if we would just open our eyes to see it. So again, I'm just saying this because I feel there might be somebody out there who's looking for that sort of innovation. And if you want that, please get in touch with me. I'd be happy to work with you on that.
That was my, not the last, but the last question was, so one thing is the book, the mosaic, and then what is the best way to get in touch for somebody who was watching this interview, either on YouTube or on LinkedIn, and they felt something and they want to have a conversation with you? What's the best way?
Seems like the best way would be to sit outside and wait for their trash man to come and ask where I am. No, teasing. They can go on. If I haven't sent you already, I'll send you all the links, or I'll put in the show notes, or I'll put in in a column all the links. But there's DanielBruceLevin.com is my website. The mosaiconline.com is my website. My email is danielbrucelevin@gmail.com. I will get all those links to you, and I'll put them in the comments below our show, wherever that is. And even if you don't want anything from me, I'm not here to do a business deal with you right now. What I'm here for you to do is to question who you are and what you believe. You don't need me to do that unless you do need me to do that. If you don't have anybody else who will do it for you, I'm willing to help you do it. If you don't have anybody else to help you innovate and find new ideas of how to do your business, I'm willing to help you do it. But there are millions of people that do that. But if there's something that you feel from this, if there's something not only in the words that I say, but in the feelings that you feel from this, if you trust me, because you're going to have to trust me if you bring me in, because I'm going to take you to places you do not want to go. You're going to be pissed at me. You're going to be mad at me. You're going to try and fight me back. And that's okay. I'm going to let you do all of that. Because the people that I seem to work best with are the ones that are the intimidators, the ones that are the manipulators, or the ones that say, you can't do that to me. I run this. Really? I walked away from a billion-dollar company, billions of dollars a company at 15 years old. Do you think I can't walk away from you? I'm here for you. The people that seem to contact me are the ones that are able to overpower and control those consultants and those coaches that they work with. When they've tried with those people and they can't, and they overpower them, they come to me and say, okay, let me see if I can have you melt me. That this isn't a fight, this is a melting process where I let down my walls and I actually see myself and we do together what needs to be done. It would be my deepest honor to show up for you in that way. And if I'm only a reminder of that so that you can do that with someone else, my deepest honor, my deepest gratitude, my deepest grace to you, and my deepest blessing and prayer for you is that you take the time to get to know yourself, because who you are is so incredibly powerful, incredibly beautiful. The most exquisite journey you could ever take is the one inside yourself. Take that journey. You will find something that you will marvel at for the rest of time. I can tell you because I know that person. I know that place. You will not be disappointed. Micha, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your kind words. I thank you for opening up the space for me to be on your show. And if you haven't worked with this man, Micha, you better get working with him. He's brilliant. He's beautiful. He's fantastic. And I love him.
Thank you, Danny. Danny, well, I mean, based on the compliment, that I absolutely love you, and I'm very grateful, and I'm very blessed that I was able to spend the last hour and a few more minutes in your company, listening to you, your stories, and I really can't express how much I appreciate everything that you bring into the world, that you bring into these interviews, in these conversations. yeah, it's hard to find the words because, like I said, it's almost like the whole room around me is filled with love and happiness after an hour with you. So I will just say thank you for everything that you do, for everything that you do for the world, for fellow entrepreneurs and businessmen and everybody, all the people of this world. Thank you for being the trash man, because it's so much needed. And I wish you absolutely nothing but a magical journey ahead. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
From my heart to yours, I love you, brother. Thank you. Your
Take
kindness
care.
is beyond measure. Ciao.
Bye. Whew. So, yeah, that was Danny. Um, really, I never lie. I never say things that I don't truly believe. But he is one of the kindest, the warmest people I've ever met, that I've ever known. And I hope you enjoyed this interview just as much as I did. Well, I mean, I had the upper hand since I was able to talk to him and ask him questions, but I really do hope you enjoyed this. I wish you all the best. You are all, of course, invited next Monday. We have another LinkedIn Live, another interview that we're going to do. But for now, I wish you all to stay safe, to stay healthy. There's a lot of craziness going on in the world. Stay safe and see you next Monday, everybody.